So we're recording. We're all set.
All set.
Hi, Ruth.
Oh, hi, Ruth. Ruth, Ruth is an alumni commissioner now. Yes, great to see her here. All right. So before we begin, I wanted to remind the commission and members of the public that follow our code of conduct, addressing only the full body. Public speakers will not engage. Public speakers will not engage in conversation with council members directly, except in the commission. Staff and public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with this conduct may result in removal from the meeting. We have never had a problem with this, but that's how we go. So, meeting will come to order. Can the clerk call the roll, please?
Sure.
Would the clerk like to introduce themselves?
Hi everyone. I'm Leticia and I work for San Jose Clean Energy. Welcome everyone and Happy New Year. Manny Bachelli.
Present.
Okay. Bill Vincenti. Glenn Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Sure. Mac Wynn.
Yeah.
Fabio. Lucia Marquez. She's absent. Eric.
Present.
Okay. And then Karen. Oh yeah, she's absent. Victor Niemeyer.
Here.
Okay. And then Christine Nguyen Beith. There you go. Thank you. Philip Remaker.
Present.
Thank you. And Ryo.
Just walking in there
right
now.
there walking
Made it
in.
just in time.
Perfect.
Just in time.
Thank you.
I was thinking
Glad I got my
5:59.
meeting
I think so too.
You're fine. Thank you.
All right, great. Is there a motion to approve the orders of the day? This is our agenda in front of us, which I think you've seen.
I have just one comment on it.
Yes.
Let me see, ad hoc rates and reserves committee report. That has one potential recommendation that is relevant to the agenda item right before the San Jose Clean Energy programs and policies. So others who are on the ad hoc, do you think it's okay to have it after just reference back to the previous one and attach, if we approve a recommendation relevant to the 5-year plan, it can just be still forwarded to staff for consideration, even though it's held in the following agenda item?
That if it refers back to the previous item, yeah, I think that's.
So you're recommending reversing items C and B on the agenda?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it could go back in for consideration and not be unable to make it into comment on that specific document.
And so because there may be comments related to B, so the report of the ad hoc rates committee in C may affect the recommendations for B. So the party for B should remain around for comment, or? I'm sorry, I
I
misunderstood.
think it would be okay if if it makes more sense to take the action in that one for the recommendation language, we can hold the action for the programs until the following item, if that makes sense, Monty?
Okay, so the recommendation for B comes after C has been heard.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's okay to me. Does anyone second that motion? Any objections? Okay, great. Let's move the recommendation for B at the end of C.
I have one.
I'm sorry, yes.
So Karen couldn't make it today. And then the item E on the agenda to create the ad hoc for legislative priorities, I would like to defer that to the next meeting because
Yes.
I think she cannot be available for an ad hoc even if we create it in February. So it doesn't make sense to do it. And also I'm not fully aware of all the mechanism, process, and all the decisions and how it works. So I was mainly hoping Karen would lead that effort.
I think we were possibly considering that, so that's okay to do that, and there's no special motion needs for that.
Well, we would need to vote to defer just to make it
so I was-
formal. but
So Macwin has a motion on the table to defer item E to the next commission meeting. Is there a second? I second. Any objections?
Just
Okay.
a comment that we're losing valuable months, weeks. But maybe we have no choice but to do that. Someone else wants to take it up sooner.
Okay, so
I don't know, just a comment.
Well,
Because
Yeah.
things are moving in Sacramento and like this week, we
Okay,
already lost something.
all right. So the consequences that the output of the ad hoc committee, if it's not addressed and done this week, may be irrelevant may become lost to the state related.
Let me suggest an alternate motion then, is that let's just wait till the time we get to that item on the agenda and decide whether to defer or not, because there may be arguments There may be people who are happy to join you in this, Macklin. And if Glenn says time is short, he knows about this stuff. I don't, so I would suggest, I don't know where we sit in the rules of order, but
Okay.
let's take it. at
Well,
the
I
end.
guess the rules of order is the motion was made and seconded, so people to vote to move it, we would vote to move it. And if the vote passes, we'll move it. So at this point, so we'll take a vote. Now, given that the argument has been made that moving it may cause it to become less valuable, do we still want to vote to move it? So
We mean by move, we mean defer.
defer to the next meeting.
I think the decision would be, Glenn, you wanna jump in on that?
I was just making an observation.
Can members of the commission who are not present be in the vote on the ad hoc invited to join the ad hoc with, even though they're not present at this meeting particularly?
Okay.
I'm sure we can nominate them and then have them formally.
You certainly nominate the member and they could turn it down if they
Yeah.
voted it. But I think that since we have an active motion, we do have to vote on it. So all in favor of deferring item E to a future meeting?
I retract my second. vote.
The second has been retracted. Sorry, then is there a second? Okay, then we'll proceed. We'll proceed with E in place.
You're gonna be on the hook
I'm
after
not
all.
gonna be the only one.
Well, again, so we'll go with it. So run with it.
No, it's good.
So, all right. So now back to, is there a motion to approve the orders of the day? Macklin, is there a second? Christine, okay. All in favor? Aye. All right, great. Now we can, the motion passes unanimously. And the public, up next is the public record. Is there a motion to receive and file the public record? That's that's a formality, right? This
Yeah,
is-
if there were any comments received, but we haven't received anything, so.
And so, okay, so, motion to receive the public record. And we don't have any public record things, so we can skip, we can skip over that, because we don't have comment cards or public record at this point. Sorry, my first time, bear with me, please. Public comment, so members of the public are welcome. Any member of the public want to offer any comment in our open forum? The 2-minute window to speak on any topic related to the commission. Okay. Moving on, although consent calendar is twice, we only need to do it once.
Yes, sorry about that. I realized two things. We can make
So
that.
we have the minutes of the previous meeting that were sent to you in advance as part of the package, which is attachment, what was it, attachment B? No, we have the minutes of
The minutes are just linked on the agenda.
Sorry?
The minutes are just linked on the agenda.
Great. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? All right, second, Len, in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and that brings us to the information-only reports, where we have to take we have received reports in our attachments for the Climate Smart 6-month look ahead and the San Jose Clean Energy Resource Integrated Plan, which is included in your packet as attachment A and attachment B respectively, provided for information to the commissioners. No action is required. At this point, we have no old business, so we'll proceed to the core meeting, the new business.
Can I just add one thing on
Yes,
reports and information
please.
only? I just wanted to note that on Tuesday, the heat pump setback item did go to council and passed unanimously. There were no questions, no discussion, anything like that. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware.
And Glenn was spending a lot of time on that one, right?
Yes.
So Glenn, I really appreciate all the energy that was mind-boggling amounts of minutia about the sounds that heat pumps can make at different distances. And the fact that Glenn dug into that with such enthusiasm, my eyes just completely glazed over. So I'm really grateful that we have folks like Glenn on the.
Anytime you need me to put you to
What's
sleep,
that?
just, I mean.
So that I think then that's the sort of good we can do as a commission. I appreciate that. So moving on to new business, just for the benefit of the speakers, what I've asked is to have a limit of 20 minutes per presentation to respect the commissioner and the city employees' time. I will set a timer for 18 minutes to allow 2 minutes for question. And here's a novel idea. You don't need to use the entire 20 minutes. Generally, I believe that you're trying to get us to understand your position and make a statement on your behalf. So please focus your presentation on that audience. And with that, I'm sorry, I don't know who is doing the climate adaptation resilience plan? I'm sorry, and you are?
Gonzalez.
Michael, Michael Gonzalez?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I think you've been here before, right?
Right, a couple
I
times.
apologize.
No worries.
Thank you, Michael. I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Guide.
Yes, no.
So first off, I would like to thank the commission. I'm Michael Gonzalez, Program Manager with Environmental Services Department, and I work on this project on behalf of Climate Smart San Jose, as you know, is with the Energy Department. I'm here today to provide an update on the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan, which will be referred to as the CARP throughout this presentation. For this meeting, it is our goal that the commission leave here today with a general understanding of the CARP, the measures that will benefit and support the city's climate adaptation efforts and next steps. Staff will ask the Climate Advisory Commission accept staff's presentation on the Climate Adaptation Resilience Plan and recommend approval of the plan by City Council. Timing with questions will take about 20 minutes. This presentation is broken up into a few sections: introduction, key concepts, CARP vision, framework, and measures, next steps, then recommendation. Starting off with the introduction. As a background for this project, in 2018, the city adopted Climate Smart San Jose, which focuses on reducing community-wide greenhouse gas emissions. The Climate Smart Plan noted that climate adaptation resiliency planning should be completed, since even with increased greenhouse gas reduction efforts, the city is likely to encounter increasing climate change impacts like droughts, wildfires, changing weather, and sea level rise. In 2023, the city received a $650,000 grant from the Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, which was previously called the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. This has allowed us to engage in this effort. The Climate Adaptation Resilience Plan will complement the city's Climate Smart Plan by focusing on the impacts of climate change and how we can address the city's climate vulnerabilities to enhance resiliency for critical infrastructure and vulnerable communities. Supporting this effort, we currently have myself from the Environmental Services Department with the support of the Climate Smart team, along with consultants to conduct the technical analysis and community engagement. We also have a Climate Ready Working Group, which meets regularly and includes various city departments as well as Valley Water staff. And here's a project timeline at a high level. As you can see, this project was completed with a condensed project schedule given the grant's time constraints. We initiated the project in 2024, completed the technical analysis, which included the vulnerability assessment in mid-2024, then moved into the vision and framework and measure of development through 2025. The public review draft of the CARP was released in fall of 2025 with a 1-month open comment period. And we developed the final plan in late last year. Now we're in the approval phase, which includes this commission, then the Transportation and Environment Council Committee, then City Council. Through the entire project schedule, we conducted community engagement with support from SPUR, our community engagement partner. This includes interviews with stakeholders like BTA and PG&E. We held small group meetings with groups that include the Alviso Neighborhood Group, San Jose's Youth Commission, Actera, Mothers Out Front, and Silicon Valley Leadership Group. We were present at 7 events for tabling, which include 2 Viva Calles. We conducted an online survey to get a baseline on community preparedness and adaptation priorities. We held 2 community-wide workshops, one in April and one in October of last year. During our open public comment period in October of last year, we received over 200 public comments plus 2 agency letters. Before we jump into the meat of the plan, I want to cover a few key concepts. So there are a few plans that are related to climate adaptation, but serve distinct purposes. So what's the difference between Climate Smart San Jose, the CARP, and the city's emergency management plan? Climate Smart San Jose addresses how do we reduce emissions and slow climate change. Think of greenhouse gas mitigation and sustainability. The CARP answers the questions, how do we prepare for and adapt to climate risks that are likely to occur? So think of this as preparing and strengthening the city for resilience and adaptation. Our emergency response plans outline planning and actions for addressing immediate emergency response, including climate and non-climate related disasters such as earthquake, wildfires, floods, heat waves, and storms. So a big part of the CARP is addressing the climate hazards that we're already seeing are expected to intensify over time. This slide summarizes major hazards we evaluated. This includes flooding, extreme heat, wildfire, smoke, sea level rise, and drought. Now we're going to go and discuss the plan itself. So given the information gathered through plan development, the Climate Ready Working Group developed the overall vision for the plan, which is for the CARP to identify the foundational measures, policies, and procedures needed to reduce the vulnerability of the San Jose community to climate-related threats. The CARP will increase equity by addressing the disproportionate climate impacts and adaptive capacity needs of vulnerable communities. So the overall framework for the CARP is comprised of 4 categories of measures. A total of 19 measures were identified through research, evaluation, and stakeholder engagement. Underneath each of these 19 measures, there are 1 or more strategies that will guide implementation. As we get further into this presentation, you'll see categories with measures beneath them. So we like to think of having 4 separate categories, and each category has its own set of measures. And for each measure, as you'll see in the actual plan, has a series of strategies in them. So what criteria did we use when developing the measures? We wanted the measures that are within the city's direct control to implement. That doesn't mean we can't partner, but the action should be within the city's authority, jurisdiction, etc. For point 2, not only did we integrate with existing plans and policies, but we wanted to be consistent with them as well. An example of this would be consistent with and in respects to the city's general plan. The plan is for all of San Jose, but we want to recognize that some vulnerable communities have greater and different impacts, and we need to identify and address those as well. So as I mentioned, our 4 categories. So this slide shows 2 of those 4 categories. So as you can see to the left, we have our knowledge category. So with the knowledge categories, these measures aim to better understand current vulnerabilities and how to address them. These include things like site and system-specific vulnerability studies. Our current shoreline adaptation plan that we're working on, and we're currently working on that with the county and other agencies. The second category is governance and policies. So these measures clarify roles in planning, funding, implementation, and maintaining resilience efforts while streamlining regulations and authorities. These can include things like ensuring the plan is updated and better design standards to support climate adaptation. The other two categories include our structural category, and these measures address physical vulnerabilities through various physical interventions. That means like to raise, to shade, defend, harden, fireproof, or waterproof infrastructure. And this can include things like building upgrade incentive programs and prioritizing green stormwater infrastructure. We have our communication category, which these measures address communications between the city, residents, visitors of San Jose, and establish ongoing collaborations. We have 2 measures under this category. One focuses on getting information out when needed, and the other is partnering with community-based organizations. So what are our next steps given that the plan is complete? As a planning document, the CARP provides guidance on policies, procedures, and strategies rather than committing the city to specific projects or funding decisions. The city will identify department and staff leads to seek or to implement CARP measures as funding is available through the pursuit of external funding opportunities and the city's budgeting process. Staff will use the CARP as a guide to support coordination across city departments and integrate adaptation into existing climate smart reporting. And with that, our recommendation. So Today, staff are asking the Climate Advisory Commission to accept staff's presentation on the CARP and recommend approval of the plan by City Council.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is, so the measures, I assume there's some framework document that includes all the measures that came out in your research, how to collect the measures, what they represent. And there's a link to that, I assume, at the end of the document here.
I don't know if it's in the end of the documents. We have all our documents available on the overall CARP website.
And who then can, so then it's other government other organizations in the city that will benefit from that research and framework and adopt it into their own frameworks as they have appropriate funding? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so of course the benefit would be for like all of San Jose, including residents, businesses, everyone. But in terms of the actual getting a project approved itself, we do have this guidance document now. So say if someone's going to go and propose a project, they can state that, hey, it is consistent with this, it falls within one of the 19 measures and or strategies. And then with that, we have the climate adaptation team as part of Climate Smart San Jose, and we'll have probably a working group similar to what we have now with representatives from each department. So from there, we'd identify leads for these measures and strategies as well as projects come out.
So what we've got is a year and a half of research of important measures that you're not specifically, this body is not collecting them. They're just presenting the framework, and other bodies will consume that research in order to have some ready-made measures that the city can affect.
So the measures are in the plan, but they're not project specific. So they're more like here's a measure, here's what you can do. For example, you can do a site-specific plan to address, say, one hazard. And then as we have that and as funding becomes available and as that need comes up as well, we go ahead and do, say, like a proposal that we want to do this, make sure there's funding available, but we make sure that what we're doing is aligned with what's in the plan. So was the plan part of the packet and like the, okay.
It should be the next attachment.
So
The full plan is the next attachment.
okay, sorry. Then, okay, but the point is that this, although the projects come to an end, the product will continue to evolve over time and be used by folks, or is it?
For sure. Yeah, so we're ending the actual plan preparation phase. So we have a prepared plan. So then we're moving into the implementation phase.
Great. All right, that's all my questions. Thank you. Anyone else?
So I was wondering if there's a document with any like responses to the comments that were made on the publicly accessible version of the plan, like there was for, I believe it was the Climate Smart Plan Administrative Update a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yes, we are working on that now. So we hope to have that up within the next few weeks. But we did receive over 200 comments, so we're making sure that we address them all, and then and if not, kind of a reason why it wasn't addressed here or when it will be addressed.
Okay. And then I was also kind of particularly looking at earlier on when the plan was available to the public, the measure for private HVAC upgrades, and I was wondering if there are any like routes that are being looked at of how that could be funded, whether through like something specific allocated among San Jose Clean Energy's rebate programs for home electrification, like a certain portion of those rebates set aside for being specifically for households or neighborhoods that are most in need of an HVAC upgrade for resiliency reasons, or any like outside sources of funding. I know in certain places there have been efforts to fund insulation projects with healthcare funding. Is there any of that been looked at yet?
I don't have an answer regarding that, but at this point, from what I believe is that right now we're just wrapping up the plan. So this would be more part of that implementation phase. As we get that working group, then we start identifying funding resources for the various measures as those like needs come up.
Thank you.
So once you start, so right now you're going through the approvals, and then you'll try to get the funding. Then once you start implementing stuff, will the CAC have regular updates or to see where we are with progress on various measures?
Yes, for sure. So we do have a progress tool that we're using internally that will probably make its way out for external viewing as well. But then also the climate adaptation plan will be wrapped up into the bigger Climate Smart San Jose plan. So as the annual reporting is done for Climate Smart San Jose would also include climate adaptation as well. So I believe the annual report goes through this commission. So it would go to this commission similar to how Climate Smart San Jose's annual report.
Oh, that wasn't me.
Sorry.
Okay,
We should
so,
also make sure we get any comments from the public,
Am I right?
comments or questions from the public too.
oh yes, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to thank you for doing this work. It's very important work, so thank you so much. And once you go into the next stage, then how are you going to prioritize what you're going to work on, and how are you going to coordinate prioritization with funding?
Yeah, I believe that has not been determined yet. We haven't, the measures themselves are not prioritized. They are numbered in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean this is our priority. But I do think it's as things and subjects come up, and as you know, just depending on the atmosphere, some topics may become more prioritized than others, depending on that. But I believe right now we have this climate ready working group, and then once this is done, another working group would come and say like, hey, we have these measures. What do we do with them? Do we want to prioritize them? Do we want to leave them as is? Do we want to do it based on what's funding is available, or see what needs are most immediate? So that would be determined by the future working group for this.
Are you going to continue to have reach out to the public, give information via the website?
I can't guarantee, I'm not the one implementing this, but how I would imagine that is that we currently have an external stakeholder group for Climate Smart San Jose. So I believe a good spot for this would probably be wrapped into that external stakeholder group. I know, Anne, you work with that external stakeholder group, and I don't know if that's definite right now, but to me, that seems a likely scenario.
Yeah, and I would say also the commission would probably be bringing items here as well for input.
Thank you.
any further questions from the commission or the public?
I was a member of the public, Jordan Mildow from District 3. Thanks for putting together a report. Looking forward to seeing it implemented. I'm sure no one in this room needs to be told, but just to say it out loud, the plan is only as good as we, get to implementing it. And obviously we need funding to implement it. So I hope we'll be aggressive with seeking grant funding and also trying to get funding from City Council, see how we can get revenues from some of our other services to fund the resiliency plan. I assume we won't be getting much federal money in the next couple of years, but I assume you guys will be applying for state grants, especially from Prop 4 from a few years ago. So just looking forward for updates on how we're seeking funding and the implementation status. Thanks.
Thank you. And I know my Department of Environmental Services, we are looking into Prop 4 funding, and I can say the same thing for Climate Smart as well. Thank you.
I had just one more comment too, is if and when any funding is sought from the city council and from the general fund, do make sure to let the whole the Climate Smart mailing list and the stakeholders group know as soon as that decision is made, so that the public can be involved in advocating and support.
Wonderful. We'll note that. Thank you.
Excellent timing. Excellent timing. So on that, I'd like to move that the commission accept the staff's presentation of the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan and recommend approval to the City Council. Is there a motion? Second motion? Okay. All in favor? And those opposed? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Commission.
And that brings us to the San Jose Clean Energy Programs and Policy.
Quick parking validation.
Yeah.
Now I know how it's done.
Now you know how it's done, how
Behind
the
the
magic
scenes.
works, yeah.
Power outlet.
The more popular statement.
And then we can skip through, I don't know exactly which page. But we have to skip through the whole cut. Which is that?
Sorry, I lost open. Second. Thank you everyone for your patience. The other way won't let me open it.
like.
No, you're good. No, you're perfect. Here it is.
I don't know if you can read bookmarks, but.
It's D.
Type A, yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Zieppa. I'm the Senior Manager for Decarbonization Programs. I've been with the Energy Department 7 years. I'm very excited to present an update on our San Jose Clean Energy programs. So what we want the commission to know when we're finished is 3 different things. To know more about our current programs, what we're planning for fiscal year 26-27, and then this year we're doing a 5-year visioning, and so to understand the next 5 years of programs and what we're recommending, and to also provide feedback. And so at the end, the commission will provide feedback and a recommendation that will include in the memo. So we'll start with some background on energy programs and then talk about our current programs, fiscal year 26-27 recommendations, and our 5-year programs roadmap recommendations. So in 2021, the first programs roadmap went to the City Council, and they adopted these 5 guiding principles. The first is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and the second was really focused on equity, which is a big value in the city of San Jose, and increasing affordability and supporting our environmental justice communities. They wanted our programs to benefit our customers in the community, maintain or improve the financial status of San Jose Clean Energy, and align with Climate Smart San Jose, the city's climate action plan. And so our programs focus on 4 main areas, and equity is foundational to all of those areas: transportation, buildings, distributed energy resources, and affordability. So here's a list of our current programs, lots of content here, but basically we have 13 programs. Some of them cross multiple different areas, and so we've indicated that on the left. But just to go through the list, we offer rebates for income qualified customers to buy EVs. We also offer rebates for multifamily properties to install chargers for their residents. We are working on a fast charging hubs pilot project where we'll install 5 hubs at libraries and community centers and downtown parking garages in charging deserts. And this is to increase access to charging where the private sector has not really invested. And through the innovative agreement model, we're going to be able to charge retail rates up to 20 to 30% below market rate while still having assurances and liquid for reliability. And then we also offer a Go Electric Advisor. This is free support residents can get in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese about how to buy an electric vehicle, about different home improvements, and then solar and storage. And they can even get free audits and electrification plans that phase different upgrades.
The 30%, 30% below market rate, is that expected to be below residential?
No, below other fast charging market
Below
rate.
fast charging.
Yes. For eco-home rebate, we offer rebates for heat pump HVAC and heat pump water heaters and battery storage. And then we have different add-on measures that include pre-wiring for future electrification, like an EV circuit or a cooktop circuit, panel upgrades, and then tools that allow folks to stay within a 100 amp panel, like circuit pausers and splitters. And then to accompany the rebate program, we have a payment plan which provides interest-free on-bill financing for the same upgrades. And then we have 3 different workforce development initiatives. We're going to be launching an incentive for contractors to install heat pumps who are brand new to the technology. We'll also be launching training equipment grants for local training institutions, and then scholarships for San Jose Community College, the trades orientation program, which serves underserved communities. And then we have Solar Access, which is one of our oldest programs. It's entirely funded by the CPUC, and it provides 100% solar and a bill discount for 900 low-income households. Peak Rewards is our demand response resource. We have behavioral demand response where residents and businesses take physical actions to reduce energy when we send out a signal. And then we also have automated options like smart thermostats where we automatically adjust them during demand response events that happen a couple times a month throughout the year. And then we have electricity bill relief. It's a partnership with Sacred Heart where if a low-income household comes to them needing help with paying their rent, they're facing eviction or disconnection of their electricity service, we will help pause that disconnection with PG&E, pay down their arrearages, and give them some electricity bill support. And then SJ Cares is also one of our oldest programs. We provide a 10% discount on San Jose Clean Energy charges for Care and Fair customers, and these are very low-income customers who are enrolled in those state bill discount programs. And then finally, education is something that we have also had for a long time, and we've also won awards for our educational programming on EVs and heat pumps. We do things like workshops, ride and drive events, community dinners. And the budget this year is $14 million, not including SJ Cares. Some 2025 highlights, we launched 6 new programs. Our EV program was one of them. We expanded our Eco Home program to include batteries. We launched automated demand response in Peak Rewards, electricity bill relief, and Go Electric Advisor. And then we hit some pretty cool milestones for equipment installed, over 1,000 heat pumps, over 100 batteries, and 100 EVs. And in terms of charging, we had almost 200 level 2 ports come online in 2025. 60 DC fast charging ports and 68 level 2 ports, but we have quite a bit more in the queue. And then we reduced more than 26,000 metric tons of CO2.
I had a quick question, Kate.
Yes.
Is there a number for, this is just San Jose Clean Energy.
Yes.
Is there a separate number for, say, 2025 expenditures by Climate Smart?
By Climate Smart as a whole?
Yes, yeah, on sort of mitigation issues, expenditures.
I can check on that. I can for sure get you the San Jose Clean Energy programs.
Is it just bulk, is it like another few million possibly, or they have a much smaller budget, 2025?
Climate Smart?
Yeah.
I think they have a much smaller budget. And then just the lay of the land in terms of how the market is going. The federal tax credit, as I'm sure you heard, ended for EVs in September. And so we're seeing that EV adoption will decrease and has been decreasing is what we've seen. At the same time, tariffs and inflations are driving up prices for new cars, but used EV prices are continuing to decrease, which is good. In terms of heat pumps, we estimate that nearly a quarter of households in San Jose have actually already adopted a heat pump. And so, we're tracking the external funding out there, but the big program that was incentivizing heat pumps called Tech from the State has actually ended. And so has the federal tax credit.
Is that 19% adoption, meaning 19% of the registered vehicles in the city?
No, of households.
Of households?
Yes.
So they might have a gas car and an EV, is that what
Yeah.
that means?
When it's just cars in general, it's closer to 9 to 10%.
Okay, that's what I thought 19 was too high.
Yes, it's money.
And about the heat pumps, do you know if that 24% is a pretty significant increase from a few years ago?
We haven't been tracking it historically, but and we could delve into permit data, but only 80 to 90% of water heater products get a permit. So that's pretty shaky. So I guess long answer is, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I can try and ask some colleagues. I imagine it has increased a lot in recent years with the tech funding.
Sorry, this is HVAC or water heaters?
Both.
Both. Any kind of, and you only, you know that number through?
Through survey
looking at
data.
Through survey data,
Yeah, so
not through permits.
not through permits. They're very unreliable.
Wow.
Solar and storage. So we know this because our customers who have solar must have a different kind of rate class tariff. And so that's about 13%. And so what we're seeing in storage is that since the 30% tax credit for solar and storage was eliminated, but the commercial side tax credit wasn't, what we're going to see moving forward is customers having third-party ownership of their batteries. And so we are going to be retooling our eco home program so that more third-party owned batteries can take advantage of the rebate.
Do you guys have any outlook to how this 200 million will be spent? Newsom's 200 million on EVs.
For EVs, we don't yet. There are no details. But we're tracking it very closely. Okay, so for next fiscal year, so what we do when we're thinking about the next fiscal year's programs is we do a lot of market research. We interview market actors. We look at how our programs are performing. We talk to, we learn from our customers, commercial and residential, and kind of set a estimate for the number of measures we think we'll get out in the year based on all that information. And also think of some new program concepts and design those, and then put them into our program scoring framework, which scores the programs on these 5 metrics here that map back to our program guiding principles. And then we normalize the scores so that we can get kind of a list that looks like this to compare them to. And so our EV programs always score the highest because of their greenhouse gas reduction potential. And so what we're proposing next year is a budget increase to 16 million and keeping our programs that we're currently running the same, but with 3 new additions. The first is to add technical assistance to our multifamily EV charger program. Other CCAs who have technical assistance have found that it's very helpful in convincing property owners to add more chargers and at lower power levels, so more outlets versus level 2 chargers. And so we'll recommend adding that and also increasing the budget from last year. And then we are proposing a new pilot around that would give renters portable heat pumps. Then we are proposing to add a new commercial offering, which is technical assistance for their buildings for different kinds of projects that they could install. And so this could look like cost benefit analyses, things like that.
Portable heat pumps or window units?
Yes, they're kind of U-shaped.
The saddle.
Yes.
See.
It doesn't work for every unit or every window, but.
I have a question. I'm curious how these different programs can kind of phase in and out based on adoption or, educate me a little bit.
Yes, so we almost always start with a pilot and test it out with smaller dollar amounts, and then we'll expand. And so, there are a lot of programs that are kind of the core things that community choice aggregators offer, things like EV rebates, heat pump rebates, although not everyone does the same things. And so that's kind of, yeah. And then we also want to look at the portfolio as a whole and make sure all customer groups are receiving some sort of assistance.
So you can kind of see there's minimal overlap in terms of cohorts that would benefit or be able to take advantage of these different programs. And I'm not intimately familiar with each of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we talk about customer segments, mainly thinking of residential versus commercial. And so that's why we're focusing on adding a commercial program this fiscal year, and we'll continue to put more out. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Kate, to interrupt you, but also we look hard to see what other entities like PG&E or Bay Ren and try not to duplicate what they're doing and try to,
Exactly, yeah. And then we learn a lot from operating the programs, what the barriers are, and that helps us figure out. So for example, first we launched our Eco Home rebate program, but then later we launched our Go Electric Advisor because we felt like there was an initial step of support that folks needed.
I don't know if you can scroll back a page. What is I always thought the super off-peak, very interested in the super off-peak plan. What's
Talk about the next steps.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're just finalizing our review and our goal, and it's in our 5-year plan to offer a permanent rate. But our super off-peak pilot was all carrot, so it had very low off-peak rates. But in order to do a full program, we need to change the differential so that they cancel each other out as a rate. So the peak part of the rate will need to be increased.
Yeah, I see. So, but the plan you're thinking about?
Yes, over the next couple of years. Okay, and so this is the projected annual impact of our recommended programs for fiscal year 26-27. So a 16 million investment will result in nearly 40 million in customer savings is our estimate, and nearly 56,000 metric tons of CO2 avoided. Okay, so as mentioned, every 5 years we do a visioning exercise looking at what we should offer over the next 5 years, and we'll bring it to the city council. And so we're in the middle of a huge community engagement. So we surveyed nearly 900 residents in 3 languages just to establish baselines on adoption of technologies and attitudes towards different clean energy technologies. We conducted focus groups and then have been doing more than 50 interviews with different groups. And then we have dozens more on the calendar. And then we had this, as depicted here, interactive activity of 4 community events over the summer. And so what we really heard from residents, no surprise, affordability is a huge issue. Cost, that people would love to make upgrades, particularly those that result in bill savings, but cost is a huge barrier. And what we did hear from low-income households is that they're so energy insecure that they will sacrifice their own comfort in order to save energy and lower their bill. And so there was a high interest in energy efficiency measures among this segment. From our market actors, these are folks that we need for our programs, like contractors, dealerships. They prefer that we have stable incentives available throughout the year, more so than higher payment or higher incentives. They just want to make sure that the incentives will always be there because they're often
2 minutes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
We can keep going. Yeah. Okay. So here's what we're thinking for transportation. I'll just point out a couple of these. We're looking at an e-bike incentive program over the long term and technical assistance for commercial fleets. Next, please. Buildings. This is where we want to get into more multifamily, especially small multifamily, partnering with the Department of Housing on their programs like critical home repair, and they have a lot of mobile home programs as well. We're looking into zonal electrification and seeing how that could be a potential source for large-scale electrification of neighborhoods. Working with CBOs to support home energy audits, looking into food service technical assistance, since that is very energy intensive. Sorry. Midday super saver rate. And then continue these programs. And then our next steps, we go to T&E in April, City Council in May, and then our budget is adopted as part of the city's budget. We would love your feedback. Sorry for running long. Yes, Monty?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is there any ability to be kind of nimble in the amount of funds going to each specific programs with the understanding that outside rebates are going to change? So like say, if the state EV rebates came into place and over the course of 1 year, there were really large rebates available from the state, which made EVs already very good rebate possibilities, but those for heat pumps were very lacking. So is there any plan or ability to alter that as time goes on for what San Jose Clean Energy can best support what else is available?
Yes, we do. So what we put up there for each line item budget for each program is an estimate. And so we're able to shift between programs each year, and we already do that. We actually just shifted 1.4 million from another program to heat pump rebates because people are very interested in that.
And sorry, another quick question too. Is there any planning to try and bring in volunteer support for the Go Electric Advisor?
Oh, that's really interesting. Would love to hear more about how you would envision that happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, talk offline.
So on the 5-year roadmap update, you have the key findings from all the outreach efforts. So what I would be interested in learning is what fraction of the people you talked to or surveyed had that input for each of those.
Yes,
Like
and
that'll help us understand like how the programs will be effective based on the feedback.
yes, that would be great. And something else we're doing is sending a survey back out to all residential customers saying, these are what we heard, this is what we heard from you, this is what we're proposing. Would you partake? Like, would you participate in this program? Is this important for the community? And so we're getting direct feedback, but we can also communicate that back to you.
2 questions. Given the Air District termination of phasing out of gas starting for water heaters, starting 2027, we're not putting incentives into water heaters?
So we're doing a business as usual for now. And then in spring, the Air District Board will vote on exemptions. And then CCAs and munis will get together on how should we fund water heaters after 2027. And then we'll probably go back to council with, here's our recommendation on how to adjust the budget accordingly.
In the existing eco-home rebate program, is heat pumps and heat pump water heaters.
Right.
Okay.
But I was just curious if you're going to cut out the water heater incentive because it's mandatory starting January.
And watch David
Assuming-
Cohen's head explode on the dais? No, we're not gonna do that.
Okay.
I think we would at the very least, give incentives for lower income folks.
That part I totally understand.
Or moderate income, since they might be exempt.
That's kind of what I was asking.
Yeah.
Keep those incentives there.
But we kind of want to look at what everyone else in the region is going as well.
Yeah. And there's exceptions and little things happening.
I have a question on the budget. You're talking about 16 million going in here. A year ago, it was 14 million. The memo that went out to the T&E was 14. But in the end, the authorization was like 22 or something like that. What happened and what's the right number?
I don't know if the 22 number.
That sounds
I
unfamiliar to me
mean,
too.
the 22 million was what was authorized in the budget in June
I think that's part of
under community programs. And
I think it's part of your slide in the next.
yeah, we'll come
Okay.
back to that then.
So-
It's
so,
news to you. We'll leave it at that.
So we're out of time. If any of us have any further urgent questions, you go to the next slide that I think gives us the wording for the motion. If anybody wants to make this motion.
We also need
Oh,
to
no,
make sure,
sorry,
yeah, we
have
take questions from the public.
Member of the public, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. If you could go back to page 105. So I wanted to talk a bit about the e-bike rebate program, incentive program, sorry.
I'm sorry, do you have a question?
A public comment.
Okay, go on.
I'm disappointed that it's being pushed out to the long term, given that your scoring system shows it scoring so high. If we think about car rebates versus e-bike rebates, you're still driving a car which has all of the bad land use choices that go along with car dependency, and plus cars are just very unaffordable to own and maintain versus like providing money to people to purchase e-bikes really changes the game in terms of what can we do with land use, who can afford transportation. And I also wanted to call out that the state was supposed to be giving $30 million towards e-bike vouchers. It was an extremely popular program. Their lottery crashed both times they opened it up. And CARB recently decided to take all the money away and put it back towards car rebates. So I really hope that the city could consider stepping in and providing some support for e-bikes. Thanks.
Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. Any others?
I do have one other one. My recollection, the city adopted not to sort of use quit carbon services, but they use some with SMUD services through SMUD. How's that working out?
So SMUD operates our heat pump rebate program and Go Electric Advisor, and they're really great. They do it for a couple of other CCAs. We conducted an RFP and they were the highest bidder.
They were the highest bidder.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. And the services are as comparable. They're giving guidance and
Yes,
tracking all the rebates and changes and.
yes, we're really happy with them so far.
We're gonna post a draft of the 5-year thing online for comment. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, so would anybody like to make the motion as, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just have one question about the recommendation. Because we have like just one sentence that could potentially be relevant in our next recommendation on the agenda item to the 5-year look ahead for programs, is it possible to just wait to approve the recommendation until after we hear the next agenda item? So that we can decide whether to add that to it?
That makes sense because the ad hoc is recommending another 2 million, just a spoiler alert.
Okay, so is it possible they can approve this and then amend it?
Or you can just wait to take
What's
the
that? Sorry?
vote. You can just move on to the next item, but take the actual
Okay.
vote.
So are you okay sticking around for a few moments for the next 10 minutes for the final item?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So we will postpone this recommendation until the ad hoc committee report on C. And Chair recognizes the ad hoc rates, reserves and committee report.
All right, I did the slides. Before I do this, I want to say the ad hoc has been a really interesting and good experience and has heightened my respect and affection for the staff. And I really like working with them. And I think my fellow members feel the same way, whether it's mutual or not, the staff. It's really to be able to sit down and talk back and forth and okay, enough.
Yeah.
It was very positive. Okay. One of the things that came out of this is about budgets and money, and it's sort of relevant to programs. One of the topics that came up was each fiscal year, there's a budget cycle, and it goes to the council and it's approved in June, and it's for the next fiscal year. And these are the fiscal years that we have data for. These are the amounts that have been authorized for what's called community programs. In the early years, it was only 150,000. The last June in the budget, at least numbers on page 499 of the city budget, it was 22.6 million. Each year there's sort of like columns in this. The bottom line is this is what's adopted by the council. It's permission to spend. This is what actually gets spent. You can't know because of audits and lags and everything else till 2 years later. It just has to work that way. So the 150 here that was authorized for the 28 budget, 155 was spent, which is reported in 2022, but it was spent during that fiscal year. If you add up these are sort of the history of spending compared to the history of authorizations. And if you sort of do a cumulative on these, you can see that the cumulative authorization has grown to 26 million over the time, counting last authorization for last this current fiscal year. The spending is accumulated to 7.3. So the practical reality is it's much lower. I'm not fully on top of this. There are a lot of things here, but what it boils down to is sort of a question for Kate, and that is, of the 14 million that you have this year, asking for 16, how much do you think is actually going to be spent?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Probably around 11 or 12, but I will say, so what we hear from market actors in one of the slides I presented is that they really want stable incentive budgets. They don't want us to, like run out of funding, exactly. And so that's kind of why we like a little bit of padding. But 11 out of 14 is what we're shooting for. Though I will say, we're probably going to run a heat pump water heater sale for 3 months this spring and hope that that eats up a little bit more.
That's totally reasonable. I was in the business of giving away money in my professional career, and it's really hard to spend. So thank you. That's a really good answer. And let's not worry about the 22 million. Let's not. Let me. Probably better to move on right now. Move on. Next slide. This is the ad hoc. There was an ad hoc formed back in November. We made recommendations for the rates, and then we came back to talk about sort of the mechanisms for funding programs. So a lot of what our attention has been, where we've been meeting, working with staff, is how to allocate funding, how to get funding to programs, such as what Kate was talking about. Next slide. We went back and forth with a lot of proposals internally, one of which was to actually have a dedicated fund. Another was to say, let's take a share of the extra reserves above policy and allocate that, some share of that. Both of those seem to be problematic, at least in the short run. It's hard for the city to make a commitment to what's the threshold on reserves. That was that was hard, and doing a dedicated fund would be really sort of special accounting that would sort of turn the whole. It would be hard to sort of have. The city works on an annual basis, and the reality is we're not that special. So we sort of set that aside. We ended up recommending, and McWin is, and Rio and Monty, don't step in, but the idea is that we'd really like to see better communication, so we actually know how much is being spent and not on a 2-year lag. So we raised that. We wanted to sort of know how much emissions reductions we were getting as things like the 5-year plan, not as just a total, but as sort of a path, is because the city's goals are to 2030. We wanted to see a path. The other thing, we felt the same way that we'd like to see a path on our renewable content. The cities, we're at 62%. The proposal is 62% again this year. Ultimately, we have to be higher, and the ad hoc recommended sort of a deliberate discussion that had a path. So those were the things we wanted. The bottom line, though, is in discussions with the staff, it seems like these are things that don't really need formal action because Zach, people who don't know, Zach is the executive
Assistant director.
Assistant director. Exactly. A year ago, that would have been right, but it would have been acting instead of. But he's the assistant director, and he's been part of all of our meetings. And it really is a matter of trying to communicate. They're not trying to hold back. So the request is that we'll get regular reports on the spending. That'll also apply to the roadmap or to some degree, and the renewable content. It's part of the IRP. That's another thing that comes in the future. So I think we're going to make good progress on this. So that was, we're good, right, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Next slide.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Just 5 minutes. Just telling you.
Thank you. I'm going to give you some change.
You see, there are 4 slides left, so I just want to.
Okay. We did have 2 recommendations that we want to see hopefully acted on. You're about to see a proposal on the rates and mix. The rates and mix is sort of how much goes where there's discussion of what our rates are going to be for the year, and what percentage of renewable content is going to be sort of the focus in our purchases for power. We'd like to, right now it's 62. Our recommendation is that the increase for this coming year to 64. That would essentially cost 1.7 or 1.75 million. What's 50 or 20,000 in this business, and here there's an algebra problem that either I made or but it would be 3 days of reserves is what the staff is telling me. We'll go with that. And one of the things that matters a lot to the city is how many days of reserves we have. So the 2 million reduces by 3, not 2, according to Ross, who's there, and he has a spreadsheet, and he and I and Monty may have a meet afterwards. The other request was 2 million for programs, an additional 2 million. So the proposal that Kate gave was 16. We wanted to give you another 2. And that was the request, and that's why we wanted to have that your vote after we had this discussion. Once again, that's another 2 years of days of reserves, where all of this is a recommendation. I mean, it's what we say is not binding. What we say is reported to the council, and so. The question is, do we want to make these 2 recommendations? And I would accept. I didn't give a blurb, but simple language. Rio, if you want to help me, but the first questions and then quick question, and I'm running out of time.
Instead of trying to vote on that now, you want to wait until after.
And then you could wordsmith our blurb.
Okay.
Let's see
Well,
what they have.
his blurb is perfect. It's beautiful. It's a nice piece of work because it expresses our intent without nailing down numbers.
Okay, so do you have any questions? Sorry. All right, I was gonna move to recommend the budget increases to support the goals as stated on this slide by the ad hoc committee.
I second that.
In favor?
Wait, just to clarify, does it contain the 2 slides? The ad hoc committee recommends those 3 points from the previous slide.
Oh, I'm sorry, there were,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's also pretty
Monty,
important.
my
I'm sorry, I was only looking at the money part. Sorry.
I'm happy to have a motion of support for the sentiments expressed in the prior slide, but they've already essentially been agreed to by the staff.
A motion of support for the recommendations of the ad hoc committee as presented in attachment E.
I just want to throw out there, I do think we need to keep the programs separate from the budget. They're going to be 2 separate memos. So I don't know if we want to keep the programs recommendation and
I don't think this affects our recommendation for the previous program, I think is what you're saying, so.
Well, I don't know. You have a line in here about 2 million for program spending. So I don't know if you want that incorporated somehow into your recommendation language that Kate would include in her memo on the programs
I think that was
roadmap.
Monty's idea.
Yeah, perhaps we could put 2 points in the 5-year roadmap section, the increase program spending by 2 million, and the collaborate to include annual spending and emissions reductions goals for the 5-year program.
Yeah, I got it.
That's
I'm gonna get it before we vote on this, so we can have a comment on rebuttal from staff.
Yeah, Zach, you speak before.
Well, our recommendation is different than the one on top. We wouldn't necessarily recommend going out to buy short-term recs, which is what that would be.
Is there some, that was actually one of my questions. Yeah, if we do this, buying recs, is there some confidence or lack of confidence in additionality?
That's right, yeah. So just for my, sorry. Just my, is it more useful for you to have it combined in one memo, or if you go to the city council with a pair of recommendations, is that adequate? I like, I mean, I sort of like the idea of separating them if that can still accomplish your goals, just to avoid any confusion.
Well, I mean, so
We're just trying to throw more money at you. I know that's a problem.
I kind of defer to Zach. So would both be in the rates memo, or would we take out the program spending to program?
We don't
memo?
call out the program spending in the rate memo, as you
Okay.
know. And also, just so everybody knows, budget happens as part of the budget, which is in June, right? So Kate's gonna do her thing. I mean, the program's roadmap item, the 26-27 program's suggestion has a budget thing associated with it. But it's not done and done and done until it's submitted as part of the whole energy department budget in June. So it's just important that everybody understands that the two, council can love a lot of programs and may choose to fund them in a different way than we're asking for in the programs memo. Hasn't happened yet, but the two things are different.
I just have a
Yes.
comment. I think the intentions are great. I might be lacking a lot of context, but what I heard from Kate was that there's a little bit of padding that's already happening in the budget that can be kind of moved around from program to program depending on, I guess, interest or demand. So I don't quite understand the additional recommendation at this point, but I'm like into this, so.
It was an expression of additional effort toward our climate goals. That was the intent of the.
Okay, so just in the spirit of output, it sounds like we essentially have 6 statements we want to make. The five statements that are in the ad hoc committee and the statement that was provided by the San Jose Clean Energy Programs. Is there any downside to just treating them separately, like approving the statement as written there and then approving these statements as written here, and then have them combined in your presentation to the city council as the presentation, not as, what is the most effective way to approach city council to get both your points and the improved budget? Is showing up with 2 different recommendations, or is one consolidated recommendation better for you?
I think one consolidated recommendation
Okay.
from the CAC. There's a special section in the memo where it says CAC input.
Okay, Manny.
One more question. So when you go to city council with the program's roadmap and the 5-year look ahead, that's going to be a separate presentation to council from the rate setting discussion, right?
They're in different months.
Okay, so maybe we can just leave one memo from the ad hoc on its full recommendations, and then just the 2 that are relevant to the program's roadmap, we can also tack on to our recommendation there.
So that, thank you for that. You read my mind. So let's take this recommendation with the amendments as stated by Manny. And Manny, would you like to state the entire recommendation for the purpose of this motion?
Let's see, so.
This plus what you're saying.
Sure, so keep that and then just add, in addition, the commission recommends that San Jose Clean Energy, and then quoting from the second bullet point on the first slide of recommendations, San Jose Clean Energy collaborate with CAC to include annual spending and emissions reduction goals in the 5-year program roadmap update for 2026 to 2031 through possible CAC ad hoc committee, as well as increasing 2026 program spending by $2 million above current proposal to increase SJCE's support of city's climate smart goals,
Glenn.
but with an impact on 2026 and reserves of $2
Essentially.
million.
The presented bullet, the second bullet on the first slide, and the second bullet on the second slide, the collaboration language and the budget increase language, along with the program support recommendation. Glenn is seconding that, or?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
you're talking about emissions and you're talking about renewables, but I haven't heard any estimate of what the actual emissions will be for next year. Are emissions coming down unrelated to the renewable content, possibly? Or emissions intensity?
I think, yes, coming down a little.
But not, sound like not.
10%, something like that.
So Ann, does it make sense to do that recommendation as a 3-bullet thing? I'm trying to interpret your facial expression, whether it's,
So it's, okay, so take this language and then it's basically 2 bullets from the ad hoc.
we collaborate with the CAC to provide annual spending and emissions reduction detail and increase the spending 2 million above the current proposal with based on the discovery from the ad hoc committee, the budget discoveries from the ad hoc committee.
Okay, yeah.
And you want to vote to this before we hear the rate discussion from
I'm sorry?
Zach?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question, like,
Why don't we hear
does
what-
do we need to hear, does this impact the rates discussion, I guess? Would these actions have impacts on the rates, I guess?
I would be happy, I think, let's go ahead and if we're willing to, we have the writing for this. Let's go ahead and listen to hear the rate discussion. Because as Zach said, the staff isn't on board with the 2 bullets here. We want to increase spending and reduce days by a total of 6. And the staff position is not going to be that.
So based on the staff recommendation, keep the 2 committee recommendations separate here. The 5 bullet points is one recommendation and the single bullet point is another. Is that what you're saying?
I was saying, don't vote until we.
But these 2 points are not related to the rates, right? The 2 points, the bullet number 2 and then the number 2 here is related to the programs. So why do we have to wait for the rates?
It's their money.
I think everybody likes Kate's presentation and wants to prove what are associated with that. I think that the business of communication, all that is sort of okay. The question is on the content and on the extra funding, and that's both factors that are affected by the rates. They're part of the rate discussion. So it would be better to make, go ahead and let Kate leave, whether she can find out later whether she got another 2 million recommendation, which is a long way from getting the money, right? And we can have this resolution on whether we want to suggest adding money or suggest more renewables after we hear the city's story and analysis on rates. That's
Okay, so that's, I think, Vic, you're probably in a good position to make a motion regarding this slide.
I move that we accept the statement as shown on the screen.
I second.
Not the 2 additional bullet points?
We'll discuss that when we'll make a vote on that when we do the discussion on the rates.
Apparently, we've concluded we have insufficient information from, good. No, good. Well, you're the ad hoc committee. You tell me. It's your time and you're a good 10 minutes
I
over at
think
this point.
that's, like Mani suggested, the second bullet point, and then the second bullet point on the second slide also, we could probably add those two to this recommendation.
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful to see that in the council presentation on the program's roadmap and 5-year look ahead. See those just 2 points.
Okay, so what we're saying is we recommend the Climate Advisory Commission accept the staff's update and recommendation for fiscal 2027 and add that we're asking the commission asks SJC to collaborate with CAC to include annual spending and emission reduction detail on the 5-year program update.
Yeah, and
And then
the increased 2026 program spending. on the second.
Now that was, but you seem to have a problem with that.
He doesn't.
The we could ask for I want to see the spending increase. I'm happy to vote for it now to say we would like to see it. I'm going to say that the staff has a story, they have a different view. The question is, do we want to say that's what we want to hear now? Subject to, we might change our mind when, after we hear the budget presentation. I mean, the rates presentation.
We can just vote later. Why, I don't.
Yeah.
Have to vote in August.
I was
So
gonna
we're
say
vote
that.
for everything later?
Yeah.
Is that
Let's hear the.
Voting later
what the staff
would
says.
make it easier.
Maybe
Yeah, I
they
was
don't
gonna,
have-
no, yeah, all right. So I second Vic's motion on the table to accept this recommendation as stated.
Voted on
No,
this later.
because-
Just that,
No,
as
this
it
later,
is.
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
you made a motion, he seconded it, people could vote, they could.
Right, right, right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we,
Second,
I'm lost. What are we
so
voting on?
you're saying as written, as approved.
as written, as.
This,
I second,
this bullet right here.
yes, as written, looking at it for the previous. So I second it. Okay. So now we take a vote, and again, if you object and want to have the further, you don't need to vote for it, and we can have it not pass, so, but.
Yeah,
I'll
doesn't
take a
pass,
vote.
then we'll discuss it and
Then we'll continue.
vote on it
But-
when we.
So, okay, voting on taking this as recommended for San Jose Clean Energy. That's me, huh? You? Okay, three. We're voting for this recommendation as written. How many we got accounts? We have 4. Let's see, do we have a tie here? Are we voting?
I'm not voting for it.
You're not voting for it as it stands? Okay, then we have, let's see, 4 and 4, so that's a fail or a pass?
Fail.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Continue.
We'll move on. Let's move on.
Okay, so but that means we're not, but this, okay, so we expect to get back to this after the next presentation?
After the next presentation, this will be revisited and I'm
Okay.
sure Cato's gonna get that recommendation.
All right, so, okay, so we are not, also not making a recommendation on the ad hoc committee's presentation right now
We're
until
not.
the next, okay? No recommendations have been made on the past 2?
That was.
All right, that's fine. If there's no motion and no vote, that's fine with me. That brings us to,
We'll vote on, bring it up again.
okay, that brings us to Macwin's ad hoc committee, which we talked about earlier, the,
Wait, what did we do about the ad hoc?
oh, sorry, okay.
Say again,
The ad hoc committee for programs.
that's at the very end, that's not now. Oh,
That was the next part.
That's a
that was because I gave 2 different sections, 2 different presentations to Ann and she put them together in the package. We'll get to that one later.
Okay, so we're 2 presentations and no
I didn't
recommendations, we're up to the
identify
3rd
the
presentation.
item I should have done.
Okay. All right. So, all right, that brings us to the discussion on power mix and rates. And we have allocated 15 minutes for this. Is that enough for you?
Good, so, good evening, everybody. My name is Ross DeSilva, and I do financial planning analysis for San Jose Clean Energy. So, in today's presentation, we're going to go over the following things in the agenda. We're going to start off with the summary and needed action. We'll also provide some context about what happened in calendar year 2025, and then provide you with our financial outlook, which includes our recommendations for power mix and rates. We'll talk about some other options. We've already heard some of them in Vic's presentation. And then we'll talk about, hey, how much is this going to cost us? We're going to make money in 2026 or are we going to lose money? And how much are we going to lose? We'll also talk about next steps. And as part of this, this discussion, we would like the commission's recommendation. It actually goes into the rates memo that we're going to present to council on February 10th. Does anybody have any questions about the agenda so far? Okay. So by the way, hats off to the ad hoc committee. We really appreciate their input. It has helped shape our decision about the things you mentioned, the things that I'm going to cover today. So a few things. So San Diego Clean Energy staff recommendations to do the following: to set our green source rates at a 3% discount versus PG&E. It's going to vary depending on customer class. We're targeting to be between 1.5% and 4.5%. So every customer class will get a discount, but it's going to average 3%.
And that's lower than the newly discounted PG&E rates with the attachment charge now that they've recently done.
The attachment. So that attachment, I don't know what
Your connection charge.
Connection charge, sorry. The PG&E has lowered the rates across the board and now introduced a flat connection charge for folks as well. So we're tracking PG&E's updated lowered rates.
Let's Zach field that one.
These are, so when
CPUC introduced it. Right?
so that,
Oh, CPUC. Oh, I did not know that. I thought that was a PG&E thing.
I mean, PG&E doesn't do anything that the PUC doesn't approve, right? So be clear about that. PG&E, the requirement, the PUC required that PG&E have at least one rate with one rate offering with a fixed charge. PG&E decided that every rate should have to have one. So that was a PG&E thing. That comes in March, and that's all on the PG&E side of the bill. So on the generation side of the bill, which is what we compete against, there isn't that complication. So that's
That's strictly on the transmission side of the bill then.
the delivery, the transmission and distribution.
Thank you. Yep. So the rates will go into effect on March 1st. And when the rates go into effect, customers, the typical green source customer who uses about 400 kilowatt hours per month is expected to pay about $45 per month for their generation charges, right? So $30 will go to San Diego Clean Energy for generation, and $15 will be paid to PG&E for the power charge and difference adjustment. This $45 is going to be 3% lower than what a PG&E customer would pay. Over the course, so that happens on March 1st, right? But we want to give you the picture of what's going to happen in this calendar year, because in the calendar year, and I'll go into more details of it, in the calendar year, total customer savings, right, will be 1%, right? That's because right now we are more expensive than PG&E, right? So PG&E dropped their rates on January 1st. We don't have time to do all the things that are necessary to react to that. So for the next 2 months, we're going to be more expensive than PG&E. Customers, in total, overall customers are going to pay $33 million. We also
that's total bill savings on generation.
Yeah, lack of savings, right? Because they're more expensive. We also are issuing a bill credit in January. In total, customers will save, will get $25 million back, right? And from March to December, customers will save $13 million because we're going to be 3% lower than PG&E. But being rates are going to be a lot, lower than PG&E, and they're also going to be much lower than last year. We're going to lose money this year. We're going to reduce operating reserves by $107 million, and we expect to end this. The financials have not been finalized yet, but we expect to end calendar year 2025 with 383, and we expect to end calendar year 2026 with 276, according to this plan. And then the recommendation is to maintain renewable content of 62%. And then in addition to that, the staff recommendation is to increasing the program's budget from this amount in 2025 to this amount in 2026.
Calendar year.
Yeah, so this is the fiscal year. The way it translates into calendar year is 12 million in calendar year 2026. All right. We can move on to the next slide. So before we go into 2026, I'd like to share with you what happened in 2025. So in 2025, San Diego Clean Energy was lower than PG&E's rates. Our rates were priced at a discount. In addition to that, our rates were lower year over year, but we still made money. So Our unrestricted cash actually stayed the same, but because we had a positive net income, we grew the rate stabilization reserve from 50 million to 106. So simply said, we made $56 million. We increased our cash reserve by $56 million in the year. Now, we have this measure called days of operating expense. And days of operating expenses is per our financial policy calculated only based on unrestricted cash. So, take it with a grain of salt that, this is important, but also keep in mind that our days of operating expense grew, but we also grew our restricted cash. Now, this is calculated based on unrestricted cash, which didn't grow. So like maybe asking yourself, why is the days higher? Well, the days of operating expense is calculated based on how many your average operating expense for the year. That came down this year to this year. So because the run rate came down from $1.4 million to $1.1 million per day, the days of operating expense increased. Next slide. There's a lot of stuff going on the slide. So before we kind of jump into the table, I want to kind of reemphasize what I shared in the previous discussion, right? So GreenSource is currently, and all of our products are currently more expensive than PG&E. There was a bill credit in January, and then our recommendation is for rates to get a 3% discount, right? This table describes all of those things, right? So January, February, more expensive than PG&E. Customers, all of our customers are paying $33 million. The recommendation is to be less expensive than PG&E, so customers will save $13 million. Bill credit, $25 million. In total, our customers are expected to save $5 million in the year based on our staff recommendation. So how does that play out from like a rates perspective, right? So this table describes that. So the gold is what a PG&E customer would pay in 2025. This is San Jose Clean Energy's generate, the PCIA that's paid to PG&E, and a San Jose Clean Energy customer in 2025 paid 13.6 cents cheaper than PG&E. Based on a recommendation of being 3% cheaper than PG&E in total in the year, after all of these things happen, we expect the San Jose Clean Energy customer will pay 11.1 cents, which is 1/100th of a cent cheaper than PG&E. This is an example of GreenSource. We also have other products, but this is what 95% of our customers purchase. Yes.
So am I understanding the chart at the bottom correctly that total green customers will spend exactly the same amount as PG&E customers?
They'll spend slightly less. It's 4/10
I see.
4/10 of a percent less. And you may be wondering, well, why are SJ Cares customers spending 7% less? Is because SJ Cares customers pay 10% less than GreenSource customers. All right. I think we can move on to the next slide.
Skeptical people have looked at this slide and it's good.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So this is how much our staff recommendation is going to cost. This is what the financial impact will be for San Jose Clean Energy's financials. On the next slide, there's some sensitivity analysis, and I want to present this slide and then go over that slide and maybe come back to this slide because this has the different options that Victor discussed. So based on the staff recommendation, our forecasted revenue is going to be $284 million. We'll use all of the rate stabilization reserve, right? We have $106 million. We're going to use all of it. And that increases our revenue. Our power cost and other expense are gonna be 344 and 48, and our net income is gonna be negative $2 million, right? So revenue, costs, net income is 2 million. Our ending cash is gonna be 276, and it's gonna come down year over year. This will leave us at 257 days of operating expense at the end of the year. Now, these are the most common options, right, that we've talked about, right? A discount versus PG&E versus PG&E. So the recommendation is to do a 3% discount. If we expand that 3% to 4%, our revenue is going to come down by 3.5 billion. If we choose to be 1% more renewable, right now we're 62, it'll cost 886,000. If we offer a bigger discount for Ashley Cares, right now it's at 10%. If we offer a 1% more discount, our revenue is going to decrease by $228,000. So this is how much each one of these would cost, and this table shows how much our ending cash would decrease if we choose to do this, and then this and this and this and this. So it's a cumulative decrease in our cash because we're, saving customers more money or investing more in our renewable content. So the way to read this is that, if we show, this is staff recommendation 257, it jives with the table above. If we chose to provide a better discount, we would collect less money. If we chose to invest in more renewable content, it costs more money, so we'd have less money, right? And then spend more on programs. Yes?
Can you elaborate it? You think investing in renewables will not necessarily bring down emissions? Is it not additional, or it's the?
Yes.
I mean, I understand it's kind of maybe a difficult question to answer.
It is like a value proposition. So right now, all of the 62% of renewable content comes from newly built power plants as a result of our power purchase agreements. If we were to purchase short-term RECs, it wouldn't have that same effect. I'll let Zach share a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, it's the difference between we make a contract with a developer who builds a solar plant, for example, and then we're buying energy off of that, and we get the energy and we get the renewable attributes, sometimes called RECs or renewable energy certificates. So that's sort of like, that's the best, most, additive incremental. The other thing, what we're talking about, these short-term RECs, is buying from existing plants who maybe they've been running for a while, maybe they had their first power purchase agreement and that's done and it's still generating and that's great. And so what are we really doing? Are we really moving the needle for spurring renewable energy development by buying that attribute? You could argue that banks who finance these projects, they're relying not just on that first power contract, but how is this power plant going to be able to support itself, thereafter? And so this purchase of a short-term REC is part of the thereafter, or the tail, as you hear people talking about. So it's not nothing, but it's not moving the needle as much as saving up our acorns and then buying and investing in a newer plant. So that's why we wouldn't necessarily recommend it out the gate.
Is that my time?
That is your time.
Okay.
We'll give you another minute to wrap up and take more questions if you like.
Okay. So the next slide is pretty important. It is a sensitivity analysis. This is the same exact information that you saw in the previous slide, but our power supply costs could get better, lower, or they get worse, right? And this is how many days of operating expense we'd end the year with based on lower costs or higher costs, right? 226. But we're committing to this rate schedule is going to go, this is through the end of the year, right? December 31st. But we're committing to a rate schedule that goes through February 28th of next year. We're priced lower than our costs. So in January and February, we're going to lose money, right? How much will we lose? Well, on February 28th, using the expected scenario, our cash balance will decrease from 276 to 247. Under the worst scenario, it's going to decrease from 256 all the way down to 226. And how much is that going to get us, right, in terms of days of operating expense? It's going to come down to 197, getting pretty close to the 180-day plus benchmark. So when we get all this level of clarity, not just based on what's going to happen in this year, but what we're really committing to over the next 12 months to help you all make a decision. That's everything I wanted to share. But there is the staff recommendation, which I think will take more than 15 minutes. Yes, Bonnie.
Sorry, I might be not remembering this from earlier discussions, but when we get to, say, January of 2027, if there's a situation, like, will there be an opportunity to change the rates before February of 2027 if PG&E rates go up and the PCIA goes down, for instance?
Yeah, I think that we have the ability to change rates at any point, but it would have to be some big event. So, yes. Next is the recommendation, and next steps. We kind of already covered the next steps, so we can pass through this. This is the recommendation. Since we've gone over time, I'm not sure how it's going to work. This is something that we would like to have for our memo. We've already drafted up a recommendation.
And the last line sort of was added recently because to reflect that the ad hoc at least is suggesting this is the right thing. Improve. Commission noted that the current projected reserve balances are above the target. By target, they mean the policy goal, the policy threshold of 180 days. It's not the threshold of comfort, mind you. It's sort of the bare rock bottom minimum. Encourage the staff to continue work on pricing competitively, improving power content, increasing program funding. So we would like to increase power content. We would like to increase program funding. It doesn't come for free. It comes out of the number of days of the reserves, and then it becomes more of judgment calls as to and I have a lot of the staffs. They live and breathe this stuff. I take their concerns and very, very seriously. Respect that.
So are we going to talk about how to combine all the recommendations together?
Hopefully.
We have to combine them.
Go. Why don't you go back to the slide that had your sensitivity?
Sure.
That's, I think, one before that. Not that sensitivity. I mean the options. So
Options.
I'm gonna just try to bring it to these are cumulative, but what the ad hoc, we did not recommend or have any interest in sort of cutting the rates any further. We're already losing money. That's enough. It was more our concern of wanting to put the thumb on the environmental side of the equation, that we wanted to consider increasing the renewable share. And the point that Glenn and Zach make is good, that it's hard to know how many tons you're getting for that money. On the other hand, it does have symbolic value because we've been at 62 for near that a while. How far are we supposed to be by 2030, Zach?
60.
70, 75.
Okay, so we've got 5 years to make a lot of progress, but we're negotiating for power even now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we done just because we go up doesn't necessarily improve our odds of getting to the targets by 2030. So if we buy RECs, it's sort of squishy, and I accept that. The added money for programs is where we interact with Kate, and her 16 number, which is a fiscal 16, and the numbers that you showed earlier were closer to 12.8, right? 12.7 or 11.7, 11.7.
It was 12 point something and 13 point something.
Okay, so I think the question is, do we want to modify our suggestion for Kate's to include that we accept her presentation, but we'd like to see more funding, and we modify the blurb to be concrete for the rates presentation to say we'd like or not like each of these two elements here, depending on the will of the commission. Yeah. Rio, you want to say anything to that?
No, I will add that first of all, thanks to Vic and thanks to especially Zach and Ross. You guys are heroes. But to Christine's point earlier, I will fully acknowledge the argument against in that, for example, we're not spending all that program allocated money anyway, so allocating more money sounds extravagant. I guess that's the word you could use. So I will acknowledge that side as well, even as a ad hoc committee member. But I am an ad hoc committee member. You guys, my position should be clear. That being said, I would welcome all discussions.
I think we should talk about how to combine all the recommendations. And I think the point made about the 2% extra and what impact it might have. And now I'm a little bit less interested in going with that. But that then gives more importance to the other points that somehow have gotten lost, which is propose a trajectory to increase the renewable content to 2030. So we do want to see that if you think that you're going to accumulate and then invest in a right manner, then how is that going to look like? So that I'll make sure that doesn't get lost. And then I think we should still go ahead with the 2 million asking for it. But if they cannot figure out how to make it work, then it's okay. But we should at least recommend that the SJC invest 2 more million in their programs.
So in essence,
nothing wrong with going with it.
In essence, modify the ad hoc's recommendation to leave the 2% on the renewables, drop that out, but keep the 2 million for programs as an expression of intent and hope. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I would be okay with that. Monty, what do you think?
So maybe specifically the recommendations we can vote on are, one, a standalone report from the ad hoc committee, and that will be everything that's on those 2 slides minus the renewable content if we decide on that. Then 2, we'll just tack on those 2 points to the end of the recommendation on the 5-year programs roadmap, the point on the 5-year emissions reductions target, and the note on the $2 million in additional program spending.
I'm not convinced that the second one is what people want at this point. I will actually not say anything until the end, but the implication I got from both Macwin and different degrees, Glenn and Vic, is that they wanted to drop the second point. I just wanted to.
The second point being the renewable percent. Is that your second point?
That was the
Different
program
second point,
spending.
yeah.
So, Rio, were you referring to the program spending or the renewable?
No, the
renewable content, yeah, I think
the renewable content from 62 to 64, right? It looks like we'll lose majority support at this point.
Yeah, I was not including that one. I was talking about the 2 million in program spending for this one. And then lastly, whichever points we think are relevant to the input on the rate setting, also tack it on to the memo after that.
Just captured that.
Okay, it sounds like some people should make some motions to me.
So do we want to go to Kate's and see if we want to say we'd like to see that, we accept that, but we'd like to see 2 million added to it.
Yeah, I have language if you'd like. I could read
There's,
it, or
can we just add one sentence saying the commission, whether we vote on it or not, see how it goes, but the commission, seeing the importance of climate goals, would like to see an additional 2 million added to the budget if
Pursuant to the research from the ad hoc committee.
yeah. The ad hoc committee doesn't have to be mentioned, but
Okay, all right, well. Do commission recommendations typically come with concrete budget numbers? I haven't seen that before. Is that?
The commission recommendation can say whatever the commission votes to approve.
Like I said, because the thing is in the ad hoc committee, there's an understanding of it came from, that's fine.
saying something concrete, the 2 million, I think, has value, just as it's communication to the council of the thoughts of the commission.
So I'm open to hear a motion.
I motion that we add a second paragraph to that recommendation that reads, the commission. Ready? Okay, thank you. The commission further recommends that SJCE increase 2026 to 27 program spending by $2 million above its current proposal, increasing SJCE's support of the city's climate smart goals. Finally, the commission recommends that SJCE collaborate with the CAC to include annual spending and emissions reduction targets in the 5-year program's roadmap update for 2026 to 2031 through a possible CAC ad hoc committee. That's it.
So essentially the 2 bullets from your report that were related.
I can live with that, I guess. But I'll say that the business of adding that information has essentially already been kind of agreed to by the staff, and we'll get it sooner. We're going to get it anyway, and I'd prefer to keep it simple that we just want to add the 2 million and not add a lot more text to this. Would you be willing to retract your second sentence?
I think it's fine. I think I'd like to keep it just so that it doesn't hurt for those that this is going to be presented to the CA.
Okay, then let's go on with it. I'll take it.
I mean, we talked about the second statement in the ad hoc, and Zach said it's going to take some time, but we will learn about it.
He's got it written. You heard it. We've all heard it. I move we accept it.
Okay, so you second the motion?
I've seconded it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so now that closes out the CE programs recommendations. Do we want to have the separate 5-point recommendation from the ad hoc committee, which repeats these points? Or do you want the recommendations listed from the ad hoc committee presentation on the approaches for funding programs? Are we satisfied having that in here, or do we want an additional motion based on the ad hoc rates and reserves report?
I'm satisfied with having that in here, and happy if we don't have any vote necessarily on the ad hoc, just go right to some modification possibly.
No explicit statement on the report, no explicit vote from the king.
Great. So just to make sure, the ad hoc has 5 points, and the first and the third one, what do we do about that? Where do we include that? The one about communicate annual program budget every quarterly, and then the trajectory to increasing renewable content to 2030.
Zach, are you planning to do that going forward?
Yeah, but also go ahead and stick it in the recommendation under the rates item.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
fine.
sounds good.
So then would somebody like to move for a standalone recommendation?
Well, we'll add it, Zach said add it to the rates one.
Okay, so then
An
we'll,
idea.
okay, so the ad hoc committee report will be incorporated into okay, so now we get to the power mix rates and the power mix rates, power mix and rates recommendation. Do you want to put that up?
Do you need another minute to finish?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Recorded, so I could always go back.
That's what I would.
Yeah, no worries.
It's the last one, sorry.
Pretty close to the whole.
So Manny, would you also send the text over as well?
Yes.
Okay, just to make sure it was transcribed correctly, so.
That's the last one we have.
So we're gonna add a line to this saying we'd like to see, well, two things.
So, regularly communicate to CAC annual program budget authorizations and quarterly spending by program element. And then,
Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. The subjective clause, which it hoped included the larger expansion of customer programs. We've already covered that, haven't we? Can we get rid of that dependent clause? Including hoped in a statement seems a little weak, so. Is that, which it hoped included the larger expansion of customer programs? Do we want that there? I think it reduces the clarity of the recommendation.
I'm okay with that.
yeah.
Okay.
with that, sir.
All right, so now the presentations, and you want to add a sentence to it?
2 sentences from the previous, yeah.
So are we talking this, we're not going back to programs, we're talking about this right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one you want to add,
So this, I think, we're without that statement, sentence that you just pointed out.
Remove the phrase
This.
starting which it hoped. That just remove because it doesn't add any value.
okay.
Commission review staff recommendation set green source as low as possible while ensuring the revenues cover costs. Yes. And the commission at the current projected reserve balance above target, encourage staff to continue to work on pricing competitively, improving power content. Okay, that's fine with me unless you want to add, unless there's something addition from the ad hoc committee that you think should be added to that.
So.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
I mean,
Macklin?
again, yeah, so do you want to just put in those first and third?
Yeah, I mean, here's the first written as just what you read.
Yeah.
And it's in your slides. And then the third, the last one is increase program spending by 2 million above current.
No, it was
The last one.
the thing about the RPS trajectory on the previous page, the bottom one.
This one.
Oh, yes, all right, so yes, we want to propose this of you an RPS trajectory.
Yeah, that third one is fine. I'm gonna go back on what I said before. I mean, you guys can recommend what you want, but I worry slightly that, so this first,
First one, yeah.
quarterly spend budget, like budget has a really like special meaning in the city. Like there's a budget office, and I worry a little bit about signing up for a new deliverable that the budget office now needs to kind of be like, we were Vic's motivation. We talked a lot in this ad hoc that there's this 2-year lag kind of in sort of seeing how budget went, and so in the official city budget, because it's this big sprawling city government apparatus. And so if we could just unofficially provide budget updates to this group, that seems really manageable. But I worry a little bit about having up scrutiny, in front of God and everybody that like that is gonna need to go through various approvals and scrutiny and that it's gonna slow the whole thing down and kind of miss the point.
So you're
So
saying
I'm asking, can we not have it as a recommendation in this thing and we just agree with the
keep it as a
handshake?
gentleman,
Unofficial.
a general
A general
person's
person's
agreement?
agreement here that we will do that here for the CAC? Sure, so that's my request, but I understand if you want to take it a different
No,
way.
and again, I want to
Right.
make sure that we don't include unconstructive language that makes
No,
life more
for that,
difficult.
we're good.
Could this be something that we include in our work plan discussion
Now
that's
you're
coming up?
talking.
And we could incorporate into our work
Mhm,
plan,
there you go.
and that will be coming at the May meeting.
I'm not saying we won't do anything until then, but yes, that's a good way to document it in an appropriate way.
I fully second that.
So that's the case for the first item. That very much makes sense. Is that also the case for the trajectory?
No, let's
for
go ahead and put
increasing-
that in there. I think that's fine to have out and,
Because it's not budget, there's no
well,
deliverable.
and for council to guide us. Yes, we would like to see that.
Do
So
we have to move to recommend that, or is it adequately captured just to be in the minutes?
That we're including the third
The
bullet
second,
point.
first one in the work plan. That was-
Sorry.
The ad hoc committee.
The budget one? Is that what you're asking
No,
about?
no, kill the budget one, right?
Renewable trajectory.
It's a general person's understanding that it'll be part of the work plan coming forward, but we're not gonna vote on it.
And
budget- the
that's the
budget stuff.
first
Yeah,
bullet
yes.
in the
The
ad
first
hoc,
budget item, right,
right?
right.
But the third bullet,
We're
we're
gonna-
adding
Go ahead and put it in,
into
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
Proposal.
Now, it sounds like we're motion ready.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
We're
we'll
gonna combine it.
we'll
Yeah,
get all these
Yes.
squared away tomorrow while
Yes.
it's still fresh.
okay, yeah, 2 in the morning.
70% by 2030. It's a city goal.
City goal.
Is there a motion on the table?
We're doing a little wordsmithing before, so we can
Okay.
have a motion, I think, is the way.
Right.
it works, right?
So adding, I motion to accept that minus the which, whatever part that we
Yeah,
deleted.
which is hoped.
But, and adding the, we proposed, I lost that page, sorry about that. Oh, we propose a trajectory for increasing renewable content, by 2030. And, no, we don't,
That's it.
no, we already voted this, we don't need that, that's it. That's
So we
it.
don't have to vote on the corrected bill.
Correct, we already did,
Okay.
we already did,
But that went on the first round.
we already did, we already did.
We're good with that, okay.
Right, the 2 million road along with the San Jose Clean Energy programs and the renewable mix rides on the rates recommendation.
Probability of affecting the spending is not changing.
It's usually, so
Energy well
just for the
spent.
benefit of the new members, it's usually not this complicated.
This is not.
This is much more
This is,
interactive.
you came in, this is probably the most exciting meeting I've had.
First meeting. Exciting is a generous word, but I motion to add this, add that one sentence, and put this to vote.
Second.
Right, a second, a vote, and all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you.
Meetings.
That wasn't hard at all. Actually, so no, to be honest, thank you very much for the ad hoc committee and all the work and all the diligence and making sure that we incorporate it and cooperate with the city staff. And thank you to the city staff for being so open to those, that engagement. I think I'm very happy with the result. So Macwin, that brings us to E, the discussion of the ad hoc committee for legislative priorities, which you and Karen Nelson were working on. And we were originally going to vote to defer that, and Glenn suggested voting to defer it would in fact close the window for impact. Do you want to have a brief discussion of what we want to do about this item? Anyone?
If you want to create. You have at least two members, and I might be talked into joining.
So
What's your angle?
Karen won't be able to join until March.
Well, Karen just couldn't be here tonight, right? But she will.
You could nominate her?
No, I think,
Whether
what she said to me is she's having some, so she cannot join until end of February or like March.
So the
But that's
history of this point was, at one of our meetings, a giant block of legislation that the city is tracking as employees for, state, county, federal, doing really wide track of it. And the question was, do we want to form an ad hoc committee to look at this bit of legislation and as a climate advisory commission, recommend to the city council to support or not support specific parts of those legislation. I think that's what I understood the ad hoc committee as. Is that true? So
I will add one thing that sort of came up, and I'm assuming we can do this. Yeah, we can recommend, but we can also make a statement on our own as a commission that we can advertise outside of the city, I assume, right? So if we like a bill, the city's not, as Joe's not to support it, but within the commission, we support it. We can say we voted in favor of this. Is there anything?
so that
I'm a little worried that beyond the city might be outside of the commission's scope where you're allowed to speak on behalf of the commission.
You would make a statement and that would go to council or T&E.
Yeah,
And
I think the
and
recommendation
that's
has to be
where it
made
would go.
to the
So sorry,
city.
They might take it further, or they might not.
If we make a recommendation to council, it's part of the public record, and the legislators can point to the fact that the commission made this recommendation to city council, even if the city council didn't do it. I mean, the fact is, we're not recommending anything to the outside party. We exist as an organ and advisory, right name, advisory commission on advising the city council. So, if somebody, reads the public record and says, this is a list of organizations that done it, we can't stop somebody from looking at the public record and noting that, even if the city doesn't support it. But I agree, there's probably a line to be crossed if we start advocating ourselves. And I don't think we'd do that. I think we would just be going on a public record that could be searched. Is that?
Okay, well, you guys make the call. I understand, but.
Yeah, I'm remembering discussions that I had with the attorney's office when we started this legislative discussion. And because we do report to transportation and environment, our recommendations would have to go there and then be passed up to council, who would then take an action to tell staff to recommend higher level legislation.
So I think what we're doing here is we're measuring the creation of the committee. And of course, if we do vote on creation of the committee, the first stop would be the city attorney's office saying, we'd like to create this commission, at which point they would either say, these are the guidelines you have for it, or no, that's outside the scope and you cannot do that. I mean, is that?
For the ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Well, I mean, so when we first had a bunch of discussions about legislation, there were some questions that Karen posed independently. And the feedback from the attorneys was that we can make recommendations on city level legislation, but those are still reported to T&E. But beyond that, the commission would have to make recommendations for the city to make a recommendation, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
and even that is
before
fine.
The ad hoc reports back to the
Right.
CAC.
Mhm.
Right.
And the CAC has to then agree.
Yeah.
And again, we don't independently recommend it. We recommend that a city council will support things or not.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry, I believe we had
just as a public comment, I mean, I think it's a good idea for the CAC to be involved in giving suggestions to city council. I'm a member of the BPAC, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and we will find appropriate agenda items that are coming up either for TNE or for the city council, and we'll write and vote on letters that go into the public record, say that, we suggest you take X, Y, or Z action. And the city council does get a legislative priorities update 3 times a year. And just this past Tuesday, they adopted their legislative positions, and then there'll be another update in April or May. And it is both as a body and also as a member of the public, it's possible to go to council and say, hey, we think you should support this bill that you're not currently supporting.
so the discussion is, would there be interested parties on the council to form an ad hoc committee to present legislative priorities or to roll up legislative priorities to the advisory commission, which in turn would be presented to the city council with the weight of the climate advisory commission? That's, I think, what we're asking, right?
I'd be happy to see that happen. If you were asking for individuals, I would not be one of them.
Okay, well,
But I'm trying to understand what you
right,
just
no,
said.
so here's what, it does, the formation of ad hoc committee require a motion and votes?
Yes.
Okay, so what we would do is we would present saying, we would like to do an ad hoc committee to do this, and we can decide whether that ad hoc committee exists as a council. So we can make that motion now. And then I suppose immediately after that, there's no members of it, and members would have to join it. So it would be we could create the empty council with a motion, and then people would have to join it.
We create the ad hoc.
No, I mean, there is value in creating the ad hoc, but I mean, if we have, so my recommendation was to defer to March because Karen would be instrumental to it.
So, but I think what Glenn and Vic are saying is we could create it now and defer putting people on it until March, or we can.
Well, I do want to point out, there are very clear parameters around an ad hoc. There must be a final deliverable, like an end goal of specific mission that the ad hoc committee is doing. It has to be very well defined what they're allowed to work on, and it must be time limited. It cannot exceed 6 months. It can't just be in perpetuity.
So better to wait till it can start before we do it.
But to,
Now Glenn was concerned that if we waited till March to start it, we'd miss the legislative season to make those recommendations.
If Glenn joins it.
Because, and the deliverable, the hard deliverable would be to analyze the existing climate-related legislation and make a recommendation to the Climate Advisory Commission by some date, at which point the ad hoc committee dissolves, and we could potentially, I don't know if we could create ad hoc committees annually for that sort of thing, or that's considered an ongoing. Now we're in city attorney land.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty gray area.
I think the issue is because it sounds like, although we can form the ad hoc committee, it sounds like then it would be evergreen and renewed, at which point the city attorney is going to raise their hand and say, hang on a second, this doesn't sound like an ad hoc committee. This sounds like a recurring thing.
And I will also throw out there that individual commissioners can also investigate, research, follow, whatever, and bring specific items, presentations, whatever, to commission meetings, request that those are held on the agenda, and actions can be taken on those. It just wouldn't be formalized in the creation of an ad hoc.
All right.
Point of inquiry to that point. But Brown Act prohibits commission members from partially gathering and discussing, correct?
Yes, that's
correct.
And therein lies the value of forming an ad hoc.
That's where it says individual members can, but yeah.
What do you mean? Up to a quorum, you can't have more than a quorum.
Yes, it's true.
You can have less than a quorum meeting.
Oh, you can have less than one.
So
Yeah.
five,
Like 2 people.
5 of us can do it.
Yeah.
6 can't.
As a
5 of us are less than a quorum.
Yeah.
5 of us can go down to Schultz's Beer Garden and discuss anything we want, unless we are an ad hoc. And if we are an ad hoc, then we have to have somebody from the staff with us. But if we're not an ad hoc,
We
we're
can in
free to
theory grab a
communicate.
beer together and talk about this law that.
We could
San
talk
Jose
about
may or may
any and
not pass.
everything. We're not limited in what we can talk about. We've got a quorum. That's my.
Actually, this is an
But
excellent.
I'm getting nervous. I'm not an attorney.
This is an excellent point. I forgot about-
yeah,
we're
but
still
before you have
sticking
that
to the-
beer, you invite the city attorney.
Did,
He knows me.
were your ad hoc meetings maintaining this goal or requirement of having a staff?
We had staff members at all of our
You betcha.
discussions. We had some
Okay, so let's drop this. My
pairwise.
proposal, drop the ad hoc and we just
Yeah.
do our own.
Okay, so, so
Back to
we
back
don't,
one. He's the.
we don't need, so do we need to move to end the discussion here? It's like, we can just quietly let this die.
I
So,
think let us defer to the next meeting and then hear what,
You can defer it and in the meantime, we
Okay.
can meet for beer.
yeah.
okay, so I move to defer the discussion of the creation of the ad hoc committee to the next meeting.
I'm second the motion.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for the preliminary discussion, and we'll looking forward to having Karen have the discussion after. So that brings us to discussion of the creation of ad hoc committee for San Jose clean energy programs. That was
That
that,
was me.
that was Vic? So it says 20 minutes, I'll give you 10.
I'm gonna see if I can, we'll
Is
talk
this what
about
the
that.
slides were for, was for this
This
one?
is what that
Okay.
was for.
Sorry,
and
my
it-
misunderstanding.
Do you think you can get back to it? Because it might make go at a minute. This, I'll just start now.
Yes.
Go
right ahead.
At our November meeting, there was a presentation that talked about programs and talked about their funding. After that, down.
After that, okay, so.
Keep going. Oh, and that report was the final act of our ad hoc, right?
Yes, that satisfies our.
Yeah, we're done. How's that? We're very formal.
Just old.
But we do get stuff done.
We're not talking here again.
Years
You
were
have done.
consumed.
I
need that
For the
report up.
record, years were not consumed.
Okay, here it is. We had a debrief. One of the things that we had a sense was we appreciate the importance of program cost effectiveness, but didn't want to make recommendations about specific programs, pending better understanding of how the estimates of their effectiveness go. So earlier we've been talking about how much money goes there. Now the discussion is, well, how much you're getting for the money, and that's kind of the spirit of the here. So next slide, please. This was a table that had been part of the discussions at the November meeting. And Rio and I sort of dug into it. These were different programs. They had greatly varying effectiveness of how many tons you'd get for $1 million. And we thought that was important to prioritize. There's already a system that Kate already talked about that includes equity and other things, making it a little broader than a simple dollars per ton. I'm a dollars per ton guy, but I'm in a city and there's many other things. So we thought seeing the methodology would be a useful thing to do. And that was the idea of why this went on the agenda for this meeting. And so the question is, would we launch another ad hoc to sort of dig in a little bit to how these numbers are generated? And the vision that was in my mind was that a group of people who were curious and interested would meet with people on Kate's team and just look at one or two examples and say, well, where did this number come from? What did you have to believe to come from? We're not trying to judge it. We're just trying to sort of understand the steps of a couple of them. That was sort of the spirit of what I had in mind. You go to the next slide. Does that work? The idea of this bullet here, goal of ad hoc is to better understand of methods. Not English isn't my best language. I'm better at Spanish. And input assumptions to quantify effectiveness and communicate back to the CAC. There's not a rush on this. I'm kind of saturated with ad hocs right now. If we want to do this next time or first, if there's interest in this, fine.
Actually, now that I think about it, and given what Ann just said, I have a question. What would be the deliverable? Because you do have to deliver something, right? Like,
yeah.
If it's like a teaching session, then like, if I'm being real, like the city employees are 10 times better than any of us. Like to actually explain her, So I just want to set the expectation of what the deliverable.
I disagree with you a little bit on the staff are involved in this at their level of working through the process. I think what the ad hoc would do is put the steps together to what ends up being the value to the city. So that's maybe a nuance, but I feel like that was the sort of the value proposition. In any case, that the first real question is, are people interested in knowing more about where these numbers come from? How many of you are interested in learning more about the origin, how we're getting, how much value we're getting for our money, how that's calculated? And I see four hands and a nod.
And it sounds like the output would be to provide a briefing session and a learning document on how to evaluate these things, or a tool bag for how commissioners should evaluate these things.
No, it was be more people, just give us a background understanding. And that way it is kind of treading on Rio's point. that
Okay,
it
so
is
to
educational
build the
in a sense.
expertise of individual commissioners.
I would not, I don't think we should be trying to evaluate any of these programs. It's more just to help us understand the process and see if we believe it. I think that's ultimately.
So does that need to even be an ad hoc?
Yeah, that's,
commission, or
that's,
can
that's
you
what I was
just-
actually.
I think it does because it would give a group of people a chance to look at this together and sort of summarize idea.
I mean, if not all the information that goes into the calculation has to be public. Then we can dig in ourselves, but it's not right.
I think Ann just said there has to be a clearly defined output of an ad hoc commission.
yeah.
So what would that be?
It would be a report that would look at several programs from case lists that we identified and sort of dig in. These tons came because we expect this many cars to sell, that we're going to sell this many more cars than we would have otherwise. Each car is worth this many tons. It's worth this many tons because a gallon of gasoline is 20 pounds of CO2, and you got this many miles driven in an EV instead of a gas. It's this many tons. Right now they say so that would be just a drill down on the steps.
I don't want to volunteer staff necessarily, but Hannah from my team did help create the little heat map tool that Kate presented with like sort of that ranks the programs. And I'm happy to see if that's something that Kate/Hannah would be able to like present in education, like bring to the commission to just show you how they put the tool together and see if that sort of answers your questions in a standalone, like education only type of thing where no action would need to be taken.
That is attractive to me for two reasons. It's what I'd like to see. And two, I'm sort of ad hoc'd out.
Yeah, and I think that could at least, it's a starting point. You all can see the tool. If you have questions and feel like an ad hoc committee is needed from that point on, then you could make that decision at that point. I will say the March agenda, I think, has a couple of high priority items and is a little bit busy. Maybe May, but we do have the work plan and stuff like that. So we might be looking at like next fiscal year. I don't know how far out is too late, but
I would like to see this information earlier than the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
I then propose that we table this and we look ahead, whenever we look ahead the next agenda, depending on how many items there are, we as the commission vote to tack on what you just proposed. Would that be a?
So yeah,
Action
we'll
item?
recognize Manny here, so.
I just have one question first, which is what we tacked on to the recommendation from the 5-year programs look ahead was included the possibility that the San Jose Clean Energy collaborate with a possible commission ad hoc committee to get input on its development of a 5-year goal for emissions reduction from their programs.
Oh, that's not this.
I was wondering if it was closely related enough to be included together, because this is from programs, this is what I was expecting kind of the ad hoc to be. And so just from Zach or other staff, from your perspective, would it be helpful at all to have an ad hoc committee in the next 2 months to get input on the development of that, or not needed?
I feel like there's a I'm sure there's some benefit. What do I want to say? If there was I'm sure they would get something out of it. I mean, I've talked with Kate. She's prepared she and her staff to staff a programs ad hoc if it goes there, with the understanding that it'd be related to the 5-year programs roadmap. So they're ready. And in the same way that we do this rates process, we staff definitely got something out of it. A lot of time, but yeah, yes, we would get something out of it.
So are we okay to skip this item and revisit in the future if it's important? Where Vic will talk to your staff to see if there's any there and bring it up at a later meeting if we think it's something we want to do?
But about the 5-year look ahead, would that need to be before March or would after March be just as good?
It's, I think, with April T&E, right? March T&E, April, so now would really be the time to form it.
So if we form the committee, it would meet with the staff, maybe see the presentation that Kate's people would put together and sit down and discuss the 5-year population of the path on it.
Okay, so I
And
think,
report back at the March meeting.
yes.
So it would meet twice and
So we need to wrap this up. So are we gonna just let it die, or is there a motion to create this committee with an output that we wanna do, or table this discussion to a future meeting?
So would this be close enough to the original proposed resolution from the agenda to be able to be voted on?
Sorry,
It's okay.
I was looking up at Asana to see if it was April for the date. I missed.
And it is.
Okay, it is
So
April.
T&E, it's April.
And so we could try to do a presentation at March, or
you don't have much time in March, right?
we have the IRP and a building performance ordinance update, and then now we have the legislative ad hoc. I think that's all that we have on March right now.
But it's really, I mean, it's two different things, right? So the sort of the teach out would be how the tool works and how we rank programs. And the ad hoc that Monty has in mind, and I think it would be valuable, is more really like hey, can we be more of a sounding board on the roadmap?
But then the recommendation that could potentially come out of that would be at the March meeting, basically.
The March CAC meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe an ad hoc would be better.
So
if there were appetite,
I move we create an ad hoc to essentially meet with the staff two times and come back with a report that discusses the 5-year plan and summarizes the methodology for the values that are going into it.
So joining the two together, everybody's good with the staff side? The 5-year programs roadmap and the calculations?
That will be part of the presentation part of the CAC meeting. So it'll only be one for the.
Oh, only one for the ad hoc. Okay, I see.
It'll only be the 5-year roadmap discussion.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion on the table from Vic to create the ad hoc committee to meet twice and report out on, I guess, the next available. I don't know if it's gonna be March or the next
It
available.
needs to be March because of the cycling.
So is there space on the March agenda for that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to create the ad hoc committee to do the research as Vic has specified and report out in the March meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, in favor? Okay, and now do we have to, so the ad hoc committee now exists. Do we need to vote on the membership, or can the membership happen independently? The membership just.
I do think we have to define the members.
So will the people who want to be members of that ad hoc committee please make themselves known?
Would you? I will do it, but I would like one of you take the lead.
He's the executive producer, so you.
The two meetings. If someone else would.
It's 2 meetings, Victor. You can do it this time.
So Macwin and Manny, I think, are taking the core of it with the advice of Vic.
Okay.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, and with that, we close that agenda. Thank you very much, Vic, for being ad hoc out and giving all of your time to this.
Ad hoc.
Thank you, Mac and Manny, for your passion around this very much.
We'll get some chocolates.
And that brings us to next meeting. Do we have any other meeting schedule and items for the next meeting or beyond that we'd like to add?
And just to reiterate, we have, so the current work plan that's posted on the CAC website, we're actually going to T&E to update that. So the 2 items for March are actually not going to be there. The 2 items that will be on the March agenda will be the integrated resource plan. This is the second review. There was a letter sort of giving a brief update on the status of that, but then the actual action that we'd be asking for would be the March meeting. And then our energy and water building performance ordinance evaluation. Jenna was here a couple meetings ago with like a little introduction to BPO, but this would actually be digging into some of like the data and what we've done to date and what we're going to be bringing to transportation environment and asking for a recommendation from the commission. And then the legislative ad hoc will now be checked for that. And now it sounds like a report out from this newly created ad hoc would be on the agenda.
Yes. And please specify how much time you'll need. So I will do that. Not that we stuck to the time as much as we did here. So I think we ran a bit over because we didn't quite have the all the different recommendations Chris up ahead of time. So I would just advise the people presenting in the future to make sure that we don't have to go through that cycling. That's the first time I've ever cycled back between presentations to do that. So, and with that, I think with no other items, I think do I need to vote to adjourn the meeting or with that, I believe our meeting's adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming, your passion and your energy behind this. And we'll see you in March.
Thanks to the city staff.
Thank you.
You guys did a